Hey everyone, welcome to the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have the time and are able to do so, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, whatever it is. It really helps me out to reach out to more and more people. And of course, I'm a very grateful person for that. Now, fair warning, this is a little bit more of a serious episode. I know a lot of my other episodes are kind of a little bit on the lighter side because I had some humor to it. But this one, we're going to be talking about an anniversary that happened in America. One that almost all of us, or should be all of us, wish never happened, and most of us will never forget. Of course, I am talking about the September 11th terrorist attacks that happened on the World Trade Centers in New York City. And this last weekend we celebrated, or not, I don't want to say celebrated, we remembered the 20th anniversary. So it's crazy to think that it's been 20 years already. Earlier this week in my confirmation class, I had asked my guys what they, if they've said anything about it in school. Like, is it in the history books now? And I kind of had a small class, but my answer was basically they kind of showed them videos and everything. And I don't know what age that they get into more of the finer details and whatnot, but they were at least aware of what had happened. And it's really weird to think that every person K through 12 was not alive at the time these attacks took place. It just makes me feel really old. But I remember it very vividly. I was a fifth grader at the time. I remember walking out to my living room where I saw my mom. Her eyes were glued on the TV. She had a hand over her mouth, and she just had this look of shock at what she was witnessing. And for me at the time, as young as I was, I didn't really know the significance or what was actually going on. It wasn't really clicking to me that it was real life. I thought maybe she was watching a movie of some sort, and I just saw a building that was on fire, so I didn't really think too much of it at the time. And then when I got to school, that was the whole buzz going around of what was going on. And it was then I realized that, hey, this is serious. Every classroom you'd go to, the news was on, and every single adult, it was just really surreal because every single adult had this look of worry, of sadness, of shock, of fear glued to their face, and they all had almost the same stance of eyes to the TV and worry on their face with this hand, some of the hand covering some of their mouths. And it was a really eerie day. I remember that there was talk of, like, do we take our kids out of school and keep them at home? Because we had no idea what was the next target. I mean, you had a plane hit each tower, and you had a plane hit the Pentagon, you had a plane hit a cornfield. And so being in South Dakota at the time, I know people were thinking maybe Mount Rushmore might be a target, a symbol of America or whatever. And then I know my dad was talking about he thinks the Garrison Dam might be a target because if that hits, how many people are going to get flooded out? So it was really a scary time. But with all that being said, I mean, it's really weird to think that I witnessed, not personally in New York, but witnessed on TV this whole event unfolding. And now it's being taught in history books. And so 10 years later, after all this, which would have been the 10th anniversary, I was in New York the January that followed the 10th anniversary. And I was up there. I was interviewing for a acting agency because that's when I wanted to become a professional actor. And while I was up there, I wanted to make sure that I took in some of the things that New York had to offer. And so I knew one of the things I wanted to go see the newly opened 9/11 Memorial. And so I looked at a map because at the time I didn't have a smartphone. So I looked at a map to find out where to go, and I hopped on a subway. I came out of the subway, which I believe was like, I could be wrong because this is a long time ago. It was like Carroll Street or something or other. Maybe I'm way off. I don't know. But I got out of the subway, and there was a 2-story Burger King. So I was like, all right, let's go eat. And so I ate there, and then, because, where I'm from, we don't have 2-story fast food restaurants. I'm used to the tallest building I ever seen or been around really was the Alex Johnson in Rapid City. And so being in New York was a big eye opener for me. And, but anyways, after I went to Burger King, I was walking, I cut through this department store that was just so unreal, like anything else I've ever seen. I mean, it was just like if you've been in one of those mirror rooms or whatever where it looks like it just goes on for infinity. That's what it was like, but with like dress shirts and ties and dress pants and all sorts of other things. It was the most crazy department store I've ever seen. And so I cut through there, and then I remember seeing all these people in line. So I asked what they're in line for, and they said, oh, this is where you get your tickets to go to the 9/11 memorial. And I was like, okay. So I was kind of waiting in line, and as I was waiting in line, I looked up, and I remember seeing this skyscraper that I dang near fell over backwards trying to look up to the top of it. It was just so tall and unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. And so as I was waiting in line there was these other people that were handing out these flyers and whatnot. And so I asked what they were, and they, it was a bunch of pictures from that day. It had some information on it, some facts. And so I bought some for $20, and I was looking through it. Well, as I was looking through it, I noticed there's a skyline view. And on the skyline view, it had all the names of the towers, and then it had the World Trade Centers on there. And I remember looking at this skyline, and it had the building that I was looking up to, where I was at. And it was like a third of the height of the World Trade Centers. And I was just blown away. I couldn't even imagine seeing those towers in person, just how tall they were. It was just unbelievable. And so I flipped to the next page, and all of a sudden there was the aftermath of the subway that I came out of. And it kind of like made my heart start going, like an adrenaline pumping a little bit. I looked down the page, there was the Burger King I just ate at, completely destroyed, except for the sign was just dangling. And then, so I'm getting goosebumps now. And then I flip over to the next page, and there was the department store that I just cut through. And then I flip over to the next page, and then there was this church, this really old church. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it had this really old cemetery all the way around it. It definitely was like, it did not fit in with the city that surrounded it. I'm sure it was there long before all the concrete came in. And as I was looking at it, and it kind of a little bit eerie type of small church, but it had a lot of architecture and everything, kind of like I was gonna say kind of like Notre Dame or whatever, but a really old church. And as I was looking at that, I looked up, and I was standing right in front of it. It just gave me goosebumps. And so by the time I got to the spot where you get your tickets and everything, they had some displays set up with some of the things from the trade centers and some pictures and everything. So I was looking through it. And as I made my way down to the actual memorial and got in there, I was blown away. It was a very well done, beautiful fountain that they turned both of the ground zeros into. And it was massive. I couldn't believe how large this base was. I mean, it had to be for how tall these buildings were, but I mean, I've never seen anything like it. At my best prime, I would have never been able to throw a baseball across it. Like, it was so big. And it had a fountain in the middle. It had granite all the way around the outside, and every person that had passed away during those trade towers coming down, their names were engraved all around the outside rim of both of these fountains that used to be where the towers stood. And there was families everywhere looking for names that they knew, and just looking at it. It really put into perspective of what I saw on TV and how much of a reality check that was. It was unbelievable. And the thing that I am so thankful for Not that I would wish it upon anybody, but there are people out there that are selfless, brave, courageous, like the firefighters, first responders, the men and women that went to go rescue, do what they could to rescue people in sheer danger. I just couldn't believe the bravery of those men and women, because there's so many people that day that just woke up just thinking it was an ordinary day. A lot probably weren't able to say goodbye to their loved ones. A lot of families just torn apart. And so it was definitely a very real moment for me in my life to witness it when I was in 5th grade, and then 10 years later, actually visit the site of it. And now another 10 years after that, here I am finally recording it down, even though I don't think I'll ever forget. But it's just real crazy. I just want to share with you kind of what I witnessed that day. I know that I have a little bit of a crowd that is younger that probably wasn't alive during that time, so if you wanted kind of a witness standpoint there, you can listen to this, and there you go. But I do have a couple of verses for you guys today. The first one is in Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. This is my command: be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And then the second one I have is from the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 4. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me. I think I chose those two verses because I think it really reflects all of the men and women that weren't able to come home that day. All the first responders, all the innocent bystanders. It is a verse that I pray that was with them at their final times. So again, just thank you to all the first responders and firefighters, police officers, military personnel. I am so thankful for you guys. It doesn't go unnoticed what you guys do. So even in the hard times of whatever today is, I appreciate you. So that's kind of all I had for you guys today. I know it was a little bit more of a serious episode, but 9/11 is a very serious day in American history. And so therefore, I hope you guys have a great week, and thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, if you could do me a solid favor and share or comment or review, whatever it is, it really helps me out. But until next time, I'm the West Dakota Dad. Have a great week.